Hi everyone, I'm Josh and welcome to Josh Wright Piano TV. Thank you so much for joining me today. I would like to talk about solidifying basic rhythm today, how we can go from quarter notes to eighth notes to eighth note triplets. We're going to specifically do that. And you can go beyond this. You can go to 16th notes or 32nd notes, but I'm going to be primarily focusing on quarter notes, eighth notes, eighth note triplets, so 3 notes to the beat, referencing the exact same passage that I referenced a couple of weeks ago. I was working on this piece with a student and we went over the ... a tempo rule. So if you'd like to learn about that, just look back a video or two on this channel. It'll be right there. And today we are going to be going over a clapping rhythm and a strategy to get basic rhythms ingrained. I often see students who completely understand these concepts intellectually. This is not a hard concept to understand intellectually, but getting the feel of switching between a quarter note to an eighth note to a eighth note triplet can be very jarring, and students tend to polarize one way or the other. For instance, my student was coming along great, exact same passage as that previous video, so we'll start in 24. It was a little too slow, and then it was really too slow, and then it kind of jumped back into those triplets. All right, so we're going to go over some basics today. A better rendition might be something like this, starting in 26. Okay, and if you want to go over more of this piece, I have an entire pro practice tutorial on this that you can find on my channel as well. But how do we go from, so triplet, dum, bum, bum, quarter notes, eighth notes, there's 2 eighth notes, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I went over a clapping rhythm with my student, and this is basic, but I would encourage you, if you're feeling a little unsure of your rhythm, to go over this. So I figured out about what the tempo was. I just am using a very basic metronome app. It's called Metro Timer. It doesn't have all the fancy divisions that you can get on other free metronome apps of dividing it into the eighth notes or dividing it into the triplets. So you can check that out if that helps. But what I want to do is play to 85 completely metronomically. You know what? That's a little fast. Let's go down to 76 actually. That feels solid, obviously, by the beat. What I've noticed some students do is they will rush their triplets. Once I bring attention to this, they'll go. They're fine on the quarter notes, but then they'll rush the eighths. So it feels a little awkward. This simple clapping exercise can really help. So we're going to start. Let's do 4 iterations of each rhythm. So we just turn our metronome on at 76 as kind of a little crutch or a guide to start. And we'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I just went to dividing it into 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. A lot of students will go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm going to clap here. You might be able to hear it better. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. That's not even. It's got to be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? So we'll go 1, 1, 1, 1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay? If that's a little intense to do, I would recommend that you go all the way down, and actually it gets a little harder the slower you go because there's not a lot of beats when you're going at 40, but let me demonstrate that. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. See, even I tended to rush that first one a little bit. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then go back to 2. So we'll go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. You got to be patient on the ones. The ones are actually the hardest to do consistently. And then 1, 2, 1, 2. You can either clap 2, or you can just say it. You can just clap with the quarters and say 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, or you can clap it 1, 2, 1, 2. Regardless, say it out loud. There's something about vocalizing these things that really helps. I go over that in a Clair de Lune tutorial. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 1, 2, 3, 4. That is really complex because you're doing duples. Even though you're in 9, you're counting to 9, you have to do duples on the 4th, 5th, and 6th beat. So it has to come in between 5 and 6. So that's a whole other tutorial. But it's piggybacking on these exact same concepts. If you can do 1, 2, and 3 really solid, you'll be just fine in this arabesque. Let's go back up to 76 and try this again with just the clapping. So we'll go 1, 1, 1, 1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. Now, after you've done that a few times with the metronome, you can do this without the use of the metronome. You can just be going in your car at a stoplight and just, even tapping on the steering wheel. So 1, 1, 1, 1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And then switch hands. You noticed I was tapping all the faster rhythms with my right, and the left hand was acting as the metronome. Now do the opposite. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. Now let's get into some artistry. This has nothing to do with this, but it is a warning if you are playing romantic music to not be metronomic. And how do we deal with that? What would we stretch and what would we press forward on? A concept I covered in a previous video on this channel discussed the inherent movement that a note value possesses. So if you have a long note value, like a whole note, or a half note, or a dotted half note, or a quarter note. Sometimes quarter notes, if you're playing a piece all of quarter notes, those will be the faster rhythms. But if you're playing a piece with eighths or triplets or 16th notes, quarter notes are still a fairly slow value. Those longer note values, they inherently help us slow time down. Even if we were playing metronomically, it does feel like it's a little bit more patient. It's more thoughtful. And triplets or eighth notes or triplets or 16th notes and certainly 32nd notes, those help to propel the music. Of course, there's more notes per unit of time, but artistically, those provide a feeling of momentum. It's like, duh, Josh, why? I get that. That's obvious advice, but you'd be so surprised at how many students, myself included, our natural human instincts are to speed up the long values. So we want to speed through that whole note because it's boring. I don't want my audience to get bored here, or speed through half notes or quarter notes, and then to kind of slow down a little on the eighth notes or the triplets or the 16ths, whether it's harder for you, it's more difficult, or whether you feel this sense of like, oh, I got to hold back here. But then it becomes this bowl of everything soup, like everything kind of blends together, and the music, as it's polarized, the long notes feel a little longer than they are, and the short notes feel a little shorter than they are. There's, depending on what time period of music you're playing on, the tolerances are different. So if you're in Baroque music, the tolerances are very, very tight. There's very little that you want to do with rubato. However, even saying that, like Bach French Overture, wait, two. Waiting longer on those long values and letting those short notes carry us to the next long value is a concept that polarizes that music. It's very intoxicating. It's a little awkward to do as the performer. You're like, I don't want to, infringe on anyone's. I don't want to make this awkward for the audience. I'll rush through these long values so they don't get tired or bored. Actually, it engages them more. So we covered a lot in today's video. We went over the clapping exercise to get the basics down. And then as you start to infuse some rubato into this, remember the length of the note does play into the character of what that note will do. Now, you can find exceptions to this, but that holds true for most pieces that I've ever played. So I would encourage you just to think about that concept over the next few days and think how you could incorporate that into your practicing if you're a little bit more of an advanced pianist or you're getting into this concept of rubato. And if you're just beginning or intermediate and you're needing to solidify these basic rhythms, start with the clapping exercise. But I also, in the back of your mind, want you to keep thinking about those more advanced concepts as well. I hope this has been helpful today. If you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button and liking this video, it helps it to be shared with more people across YouTube and other channels. So thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it. I will leave a few extra resources in the description below if you'd like to go even deeper than this channel goes over. One of them is for a free webinar containing 10 of my favorite tips to help take your playing to a higher level. That will only be up for a few more months, so take advantage now if you haven't already watched that or if you need a little bit of review on that. I'm filming a new webinar with new concepts that I'd like to present, but those 10 concepts I use pretty much daily in my teaching and in my own playing. So I hope those can help you in your studies. The second resource I'll leave are 2 links for my paid courses, Pro Practice, which goes over repertoire, and the VIP Masterclass series, which goes over questions submitted by our members each week. And finally, a link to my gear kit featuring everything I use in this studio to film these videos. If any of you have any questions, my email is josh@joshwrightpiano.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. Your support really means a lot to me. I love making these videos. This has been a project that's been going on for 14 or 15 years now, and I'm very grateful for your support. So thank you so much. Have a great week. Good luck in your practice sessions.